let's call the meeting to order at 1 o'clock. And Deborah, could you do a roll call?
Certainly. Byram excused. Castillo?
Here. Wait, there he is.
Oh,
Byram.
Byram, are you present?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Castillo?
Here.
Fitzgerald is excused. Hildreth?
Here.
Selden?
Here.
Ojo and Dallas are ex officios. We're present.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any changes or additions to the meeting, the minutes of the meeting of March 3rd, 2026?
No.
If not, we'll accept those as prepared. Thank you. And I believe, member forum, I believe we have one person wanting to speak.
Yes, we do. Mary England, would you be so kind?
Good afternoon, I'm Mary England, 1200 Fairlawn Court, number 8. And I have 2 suggestions to make on the KPI task force recommendations going to the board. One would be to differentiate your task force recommendations regarding RWC service delivery, 1, directly to RWC, and 2, to the mutuals. So you don't mesh them together. And I sent out recommended revisions. The second is to address RWC service delivery currently in the management agreement for current service delivery. The exhibits in the management agreement for 2026 outline tasks and functions of each department, including alterations and resales. And I recommend you look at those and not wait for future redesign of any department. Thank you.
Thank you. And there are no speakers over Zoom, so that concludes the member forum.
Okay. Excuse me. I'll just have a brief chair's report. I just really want to thank everyone here on the task force, and particularly Kelsey, who's just done a tremendous job in compiling all this data. In fact, even more than I knew she had compiled, and we'll talk about it. We'll revise the final report to include that. But we've just been pulling things together here. And again, I did have a great meeting with with our fellows, and I just want to thank them for all their work, and also thank them for the work that what they've shared with us today. Not that we didn't have enough before, but what they shared with us today, I think, is how all of this could be applied in real time. So we don't have unfinished business, and we'll start with our new business. And the new business first item is just a discussion, just really a presentation by Kelsey of some sample goals that she has created, or your team has created. So I just wanted us to look at what some of these KPI measures could look like in real life. And I think from the work you've done, you've thought about that, Kelsey, and this is a sample. We're not saying you've adopted this permanently or forever or whenever even, but talk a little bit about how you've been thinking, what you thought with going forward on this.
So with these 5, they're a good mix of goals that focus on customer experience as well as internal operations. So the first 3 really connect with the surveys that we've done and that we will do in the future as well. Following up on our reservations, seeing how our staff is doing, how the whole process from start to finish, getting that feedback in real time so that we can keep making those positive adjustments. And so the first 3 really are the customer experience as it relates to the surveys. And the last 2 focus on the internal operations. So reviewing all of our reservations, our usage, and setting goals and timelines of when to review them to see how we could be planning our bookings better, or how we can adjust it to make it more efficient, or how essentially by doing that improves the customer experience as well. So those are there are a number you can do, and I just thought the 5 focusing on those 2 areas was a good way to start.
Well, thank you for developing those. And do you think you might try to use them? And in fact, some of the things we've developed, the resources might help you measure that in the coming time?
Yeah, and then especially with areas like the fifth one, which is focusing on reviewing of the facility usage, we already do that, but that's kind of putting a solid plan in place to have a schedule to do it. We do it intuitively as we do our reservations, but this kind of puts it in a schedule for us to really take a deep look into it. So it's a good way to move forward with at least the reservation process.
Okay. Any questions for Kelsey?
How does this fit into the new computerized version? Does this?
For the Vermont system.
Vermont, yeah.
So the ones that focus on the experience, those will continue with the surveys, which can be linked with Vermont systems on that schedule that we were talking about last time. And then our spreadsheet that we do is what really connects with the unmet demand and the usage so that we can have something really solid to look at to see where we are having either too many reservation requests, not enough. So that spreadsheet really does help with that. It wouldn't be able to go into the Vermont systems because that's still going to be just transactional, but the spreadsheet at least helps.
So I have a question about the rooms that you're not allowed to book anymore,
The community
like
room.
Echo Room, for instance. Every time I've walked by there, it's empty.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if you guys are looking at all at these community rooms and whether they should stay like that, because I feel like they're being underutilized. I know it's like a drop-in thing.
Yeah.
But if people aren't dropping in or they don't really get it or they don't feel comfortable just showing up somewhere without, I just don't know, but because I used to use the Echo Room and now I don't. I'm like, it's always empty.
I think that's part of the ongoing kind of evaluation to see what space is being utilized in
Yeah.
certain ways and then where the demands are, where the available resources are. That's a resource then, what adjustments can we make.
Yeah,
Does that, what Janet is getting at, would that come out of these KPIs?
no, because they're not really monitoring them, right?
No, I think we don't monitor them in the sense of we don't have somebody over there seeing how many hours a day it's vacant. But if we're talking about the unmet demand and facility usage, if there's a resource there that's not being utilized or we're not able to meet a demand, maybe that's a resource to help us meet a demand.
Right, we could actually book them there.
So I think some of this can lead us in that,
Yeah.
even though it's not a direct measurement of that.
Okay,
What's really interesting about this data is that how much of the demand we seem to be meeting. My
Yeah,
intuition
it's
going in
yeah.
was, oh gosh, there's not enough space and people are having trouble, but it's not at all true. People's demands are being met very quickly most of the time.
Yeah, they are.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens when we go through the annual process.
Yeah, and we have that other approach for that process, the history process.
Yeah.
All right.
Would we measure how people feel after that process? Yeah, do we plan to?
Yeah, we remember, I think it's in the recommendations, but at the last meeting, we talked about setting up something, a separate analysis of the history booking period, because it's really different than what we're seeing in the non-history period. And we'll look at that, because I know it's one of the recommendations. Okay.
Good.
So thank you, Kelsey, and you continue, the other thing I was gonna say real quick on this, on your KPIs, the Vermont systems is able to generate, if you wanna do that check-in after every event or a contracted event, isn't Vermont systems able to at least let you know or give you the contact information for that automatically?
For the survey.
Yeah.
It does have a function to where it can do any type of mass communication, including a survey. It would still probably go through SurveyMonkey, which is what we use for this, because
Yeah.
it does all the data for you. But it has that communication
So
option.
you wouldn't have to figure it out. It could automatically push out a survey if you want.
Yes.
That's good. Okay,
Right.
so you have continued to do your analysis of the reservation process, and we have that through, April, why am I looking at the wrong, I'm sorry, yeah, there you go.
So since the last meeting, we completed another 60
Yes.
reservations. So total from January 13th to last week was 160 reservations completed. Pretty much the outcomes stayed pretty well the same. We did increase our accommodation with no requests up to almost 78% of all requests were accommodated with no changes, including change of space, time. And then all of the ones that were completed with some sort of modification, we increased to 21%. We had less than 2% of the reservations declined. We only had 2 more additional that we declined because it had to do with adding additional recurring reservations outside of what clubs can have with their 4. So it was adding 2 more. So we weren't able to add those in. So out of the 3 months, we were unable to fulfill 3 of the reservation requests. So increased about 1% of accommodations from last month to now.
So I really appreciate, and we asked you to continue to do this. I want to, and it's really good feedback, and we've included some feedback here in the draft report. We had recommended that you continue that, and I'm just checking again to see, does this take a lot of time to do this, or is it worth, I don't mean, I mean, would you consider doing this maybe just on a seasonal, or do you want to, is this a workload to continue this? Is it valuable to continue to get this information?
I think it's good information. I like the time that we did it because we've completed those history reservations, and throughout the year, the reservations, because we're filling up that space, will kind of, the availability might change a little bit. So that first quarter, the first 3 months of the first year of reservations, I think is a good time period to look at to do this consistent tracking and monitoring. I mean, 160 in 3 months is quite a lot. So I think the first quarter would be a great way to start it.
And so that's a really good suggestion, and I appreciate hearing that. We had said, keep this up, and I'm not saying it isn't good to keep it up, but do you think recommending that this type of analysis be done for the first quarter, at least next year, to see where we're going, as opposed to a continual collection of this data?
Or what's easier? Is it easier to just collect it as you go, or?
Well, we would input them as we receive them. I think getting the quarterly snapshot to kind of do a check-in rather than throughout the year, because we are, from the results, we're really consistent with a high booking rate. And I think doing that first quarter is probably a good way to continue it.
Okay.
And this is all Kelsey clubs, right?
No,
It's private too. Look
And
how much
mutuals.
private there is. A lot.
There was that article in Rossmore News about some fellows that were getting together to play music, and they were in a club, and
Oh, that's the jazz group.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
wondering how, and there might be these kind of like disparate things out there, demand that we're not really capturing.
So that would be a private booking if they're not a club, right? Anything not a club is private.
Right.
Or a mutual. Yeah. No, I think this is super interesting. Look how much dollars used, more than any other place.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Adrian.
I'm wondering if it would make sense to do this quarterly for this year, just so that we've got sort of a baseline. And if we see that, that doesn't make much difference in the last quarter or
Yeah.
something, then we can push that off. But
Yeah.
right now, we're getting some useful and beneficial information. And I think it'd be helpful for everybody if we saw it for the next 4 quarters.
So you're suggesting that they complete 1 year
Yes.
of
quarter.
collecting this
Yeah.
data, and then we would be able to, no, I don't want to say 1 year. Yeah, because I think you specified that Kelsey and Jeff too, that the history booking period, we're thinking about dealing with that differently, and that occurs in August, right? Like August through,
June through November.
oh,
That's half the
that's
year.
a weird, yeah.
Hmm.
June through November, okay, so the history is June through November. And what we could say, and we're hearing your recommendation, but we could ask you to continue this through June.
Okay.
Because then we would have a sense of where we are I just really think we have to think differently. And even though we may or may not, hopefully some form of a task force will continue to be in place to work with you to determine how you want to handle that history period, the June to November. Or is that acceptable to you, or?
Well, I mean, there's sort of two different things in a way.
Yeah,
These reservations are all about individuals, a lot of them are private, birthday parties, et cetera. And so they're continuing on. They're just sort of part of doing business. And so it's not like they drop off in June or.
But they're
September.
already spoken for, and so, and during the year, those historical ones from last year
Right,
are already taken care of for the whole year.
yes.
I
So
think the question is, come June to November, now this is just if you're a club, I don't know about the private things, but if you're a club, in that period of time, you're in this historic period and you
Right.
don't get to do this is kind of one-offs, not historical. So, in thinking about that period of June to November, do you still work with one-off requests from private entities,
sure.
but not clubs, right?
We do still have the clubs come in, so you can reserve up to 6 months in advance, so we'll have, throughout the entire year, we'll have requests. It's just that first part of the year, when you can reserve from January to June, is a lot heavier than the rest of the year. So it's a good snapshot, but we will have reservations throughout the entire year.
Yeah, and so this gives us a view that says we're doing a good job on this, and we're continuing that good job through the whole year. And that can give us that information. So this is a service we're providing. Are we providing this service in a uniform way at all months of the year? And maybe we report it every 6 months, maybe not quarterly. But
So Adrian's recommending that we continue this throughout this calendar year. And that's what you're recommending. And I just want to make sure, Kelsey, Jeff, that's, I think, what you'd like to see, what we'd like to see, because then we'll have a year. And I think at that point, we can have a better sense of, do we have to continue this all year long, or could we do it just in 1 quarter, like you suggested, January to March? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, and I actually think it's a good idea because it gives us not only a baseline, but as you just mentioned, there's a lot of still feeling out there that there's not room, there's not a way to accommodate. We aren't meeting the demands. So this gives clear data that we can share with the community that things are.
Yeah.
Right?
or if they're not, then
Yeah,
we
then
can,
we'll know more.
then we'll know,
Yeah.
and we can deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I know there was an article in Rossmore News that summarized all those statistics that we gave at the last meeting. I just wonder if there's a headline or something that to really get that message out there really
Like
strongly.
first quarterly report.
Some way of presenting the, because most people aren't gonna read, oh yeah, 17% this,
Yeah.
you know, that's too much detail, but to use this tremendous work.
Yeah,
I mean, in a
Rossmore
way, where this should end up, all of this stuff should end up on myrossmore.com.
Oh.
you know,
Yeah.
and then it's easy to be graphical, it's easy to have
Yes.
color. It's easy to update it. You know, but once we get that launched, then Ann can keep busy.
So, yeah, and so Deborah had, and we may address this later on, but Deborah had mentioned to us previously, Adrian, that everything we have from these meetings is available in Simply. But I think what you're saying and what we might be able to talk with, maybe with Ann or folks at Rossmore News, you know, after we have our final meeting today, I've been trying to think in my head how we could find a place to share this information and maybe pick out the highlights, because there's a lot of information here. But it would be great, I think it would be useful for us to share this, and not that Simply isn't great, but in a more concise, like a one spot on the myrossmore.com about this, what we've done.
Yeah, you can see there, you know, easy to pop up graphs on the website, where it's super hard to print them in our newspaper.
I mean, the other kind of ancillary issue is if we're gonna go into a period of renovating Dollar, whatever it's gonna have there, this tells you, ooh, when Dollar's out of
Yeah.
commission, that's a really popular location. How are we gonna accommodate that demand? What's gonna happen then? Where is it gonna go?
Yeah, but it also is good information to show. I mean, I don't know how many people have said to me, oh, I don't know, who meets in Dollar? I don't think anybody meets in Dollar. And it shows you here that it's the
Yeah.
most highly used place.
Yeah, it's really kind of surprising, actually.
Well, I'll ask you, Jeff, do you think as we finish up today and finish up our discussions, that what would you recommend that we talk with Ann maybe about doing a feature article about the work of the task force, or how would we share more
I
information?
think that's gonna just happen.
Okay.
Because those two guys.
Got some folks behind us here.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying you're not doing your job.
But I think and then as you,
Yes.
as,
Okay.
yeah, as the report then is made to the board on the task force recommendations and findings, that'll also get
Okay.
picked up.
And I'm jumping ahead of the gun here, but that's a horrible expression. I'm jumping ahead.
Today.
But do we, and since I've never been through this process before, this is our final meeting today, so do you the next step, or it's fine, I don't know, final step, but the next step would be that we would share our recommendations at one of the public board meetings?
Right, you're on the agenda for the end of this month.
Oh.
Got a lot
I guess I should have looked at it.
Got a lot of writing to do.
Yeah, featuring Susan.
So
Okay.
what I will
Women
be
of the year.
doing is adding your final report.
Yeah.
From today's discussion.
Right.
I think if you could forward that to me.
Oh, yeah, after we finish it up today, we'll make some modifications. Oh,
And
okay,
then you would be presenting.
okay, all right, good. Well, I don't, that's fine. Okay. Well, so in order to finish up item 7B, we're recommending and requesting and all agreeing that we will be continuing to collect the facility reservation process information through the rest of the calendar year 2026. And then hopefully there'll be either the board or some other group will consider how we might want to move forward, and maybe possibly not do it all year long, but we'll have a better sense of what we want to do. Okay, so now we have Joyce and Ife. They have both joined us. So would you like to share anything, some of the work you've done? We have all your work here online in our packet, what you shared with us this weekend. So that was great. And we first of all want to again thank you for your framework that you've shared with us. But I also thought you might want to spend some time just talking with us. And we do have on our agenda your full report that you shared with us, the KPIs for transportation and all the work you did on that. So just why don't you walk us through that? Because for me, it was very helpful to see what you did, the level of detail, and also to think about how would all the work you've done, how would it really be applied to a real situation here, transportation services. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this. Myself and Joyce walk through doing this demonstration with the transportation sector with the details that Kelsey provided us. And Joyce, I don't know if you could share your screen so that we can just go through it from tab 1 to like that, and we can just walk through it together and have like an interesting conversation.
Are you able to
Thank
see
you.
my screen?
It's coming up.
You have it here too, if folks are using your laptop.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It is up.
Are you able to enlarge that at all?
Let me see.
There you go.
Not this one. There is the other one that was shared.
Oh, wait. Let me see. Is it?
Oh, they wanted a different page.
Oh, you want a different page? Oh.
Oh, yes. 1 second. Let me put that one up. Oops.
Yeah, it has the overview, KPI register.
Yes. 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Do you need us to share it or?
Not the Excel
one.
that we shared on Sunday.
Oh, on Sunday. Okay, sorry.
From Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
Up there, Joyce, initially.
Oh, okay.
Oh, damn. So sorry. I might
Was it
have
this one?
confused
Okay,
you.
no worries.
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. So can you go to the there are still more
Performance.
tabs in front. So if you use the
Yes.
arrow, go forward. The arrow lower down.
Oh, hold on. Let me.
Yeah, it just
my
shows all the
Excel.
tabs that we worked on. Yeah, go
There we
further.
go.
Yeah, let's start
Yes, there
from
we
the overview. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this tab just shows a snapshot of the service for 2026 from the budget. There is a budget of $1.2 million, and the breakdown is to 14.28 per month. So each household contributes roughly a cup of coffee and a tip for transportation per month. And also in 2025, based on the data that we received, the facility had delivered over 35,000, almost 36,000 rides. And that's an average of 145 rides per day. And it was serving 8,200 unique residents. And I think which is a meaningful share of community. Also, the logged hours was 8,400 service hours, and the total miles was also included. This is just the baseline. So there are also 174 residents that were registered to paratransit. That's the door-to-door service for mobility limited residents, and over 9,000 rides, which is roughly 27%, were downtown trips. So which matters for the measure of J-Founding renewal. So this is just pulling all the data together for us to see how this has moved over time. So if we go to tab 2, it's the KPI register from our own viewpoints. And this is just picking up different things that we can measure. So the first domain, there are 5 domains that we included here, which was utilization, cost efficiency, service quality, accessibility, utilization again, and sustainability. You would remember initially when we spoke about how we had divided a few things, the accessibility based on those who typically need this, those that don't have cars, and just ways that they'll be able to move. So the utilization, let me just start from the utilization. It measures how many people use the service and how often. The cost efficiency, what it costs to deliver. the service quality, which is very good to measure over time to see where you need to improve over time. Also, how good the experience is for the residents. Accessibility, is the transportation service actually serving the most vulnerable residents equitably, which is another thing that needs to be considered over time. And sustainability, do residents have alternatives if service changed? So each KPI is tied to specific decision that is important. So we didn't just pick different metrics for sake of reporting. And this is what we've also created down that can work for other amenities as you want to design KPIs and how you want to measure it based off how these utilization, cost efficiency all weave together for you to decide on what you'll be measuring. For example, total rides per year inform on staffing level decision and whether you should expand the services. Cost per ride informs whether the GoGo grandparent subsidy is good value for GRF. The paratransit percentage directly feeds into the access ADA, that's the ADA compliance and equitability conversation. So every KPI has a named owner, either the transportation manager or finance, and the reporting frequency. So these are just the different things that we've been able to merge them into. But before we move to definitions, are there any other KPIs you would want to add to this, or you want us to remove or reprioritize? This can help us like shrink the list or make it more broader and it will reflect better things that you would want to see from your perspective.
Great, that's terrific. It's interesting to think, I mean, I think these are great examples. Do you recommend that in terms of the, the domains, shall we say, that at a minimum, an organization would want to have one KPI per domain?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one at least.
Yeah, and you've given us lots of samples, which is great, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So do you want us to go through the KPI definition or we can just fly ahead?
I think you can go on. I mean, I think hopefully we've looked at this and seen all your good work here, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No more KPI definitions.
Okay,
Let's
so
go on.
let's go to the targets and threshold. So tab 4, you will see the traffic light system, the way we designed it. There is the tab where we'll need your input today. There is the part where we need your input. For each KPI, we are proposing 3 zones. The green means we are on track. Can you move to the side? Okay, you've zoomed in. Yeah. So the green means we are on track. Yellow means we are watching. It's a signal to investigate, but it's no crisis. Red means escalate it to the board. So let me walk you through a few examples. So total rides per year is green. That's 37,000 rides. If it is between 33 to 36,000, we would want to understand why the ridership dropped. So these are the things that you can use to measure going forward for every year based off the data we received in 2025. And if you then merge this into for 2026 when you're trying to measure it, these are key things to look at. Red, if it goes below 33,000, this is a very significant signal about the demand. Is it that there aren't enough staff? Or is it that scheduling needs board level conversation when the schedule is on, people are not really moving at that time? Is that why there's been a drop in the utilization? So those are the things that we need to look at. For the wait time, for instance, if it's under 55 minutes, based off what the historical had looked like, and if you want to improve on this also, you can just change the timing. That is green. If it's between 56 to 75 minutes, that means people are waiting longer. So you should actually be watching that. If it is over 75, then you'll be hearing likely from the residents that there is something going on. So those are like key things to look at for each of those lines. And there are targets that we've helped to include for what 2026 targets should look like to make it even more better. Then cost per ride. Green is under $37. If it rises to 40, these are the things that we need to be looking at. 40%, that's a 14% increase over baseline and triggers a cost driver analysis with finance. So these are just a breakdown of things to look at when you want to measure against next year what your targets and threshold should look like. And if you want to improve on it, if like there are complaints on certain lines of the transportation targets and threshold. I think that is also clear. There is a part that we had also included here. 30% on utilization side. Can you move to the side? Yeah. We did a bit of weight for it. We put utilization on 30% because ride share volume is the core justification for this service. We put 25% on accessibility because serving mobility limited residents is a non-negotiable inequity commitment. Then cost efficiency, because cost per household dollar stewardship is also an important priority to the board. This is what we also believe. Then 15% for impact if removed, because we need to understand what residents lose if the services change. Then 7% because GoGo and CTA exist, but they are not full substitutes. So that's why for their own measurements, it's at 7%. Then service quality, we put that at 3%. It is important, but downstream of the bigger factors to consider in the weighted ranking for what is important here. Yeah. So I don't know if you have any comments before we move to tab 5 on performance tracking.
Well, this is just an aside, I guess, but this is great data as a baseline. If we wanted to know, and presumably our transportation study will start surfacing this, that if we wanted to have a wait time of 10 minutes, it's not a model that you can say, oh, plug in 10 and then here's the result and we maintain $35 per ride and all of that kind of thing. So that like, it would be really, really good to know how much more it would cost if we really did have, buses zooming around, everybody riding these buses, and what impact that would have.
However, you can also shrink that down if you get like immediate data of when requests come in. So if you have like a data of when the request for a ride comes in, and is there like a time clock of every 2 hours there'll be a bus to pick people from this location, and do people get early? Like, do they get ready early enough? Like, there are ways we can structure that to reduce the wait time. And it can also definitely impact staffing. If you want it to be on call at every time, that means there will be a need for increase in staffing. Like, it just has different levels that it will pull together for you to implement if you want to reduce wait time. And if there are more data, we can go more granular for us to be able to pull it together and say, you need to do this for you to be able to get to this point. Yeah. So there are just different ways to look at it from that viewpoint also.
Okay, would you, hopefully, are we okay if we go to the evaluation domain scorecard, which is your last slide?
Okay, that will be slide 6, right? That's the decision.
And I wanted to make a note here, Adrian and Dwight and Jeff and I had talked a little bit about these evaluation domains. And that probably didn't get translated, which is no problem. So you have assigned weight to those evaluation domains. And I think I want to just highlight, and I want your feedback on this, but assigning the weights to the evaluation domains is really a critical process. When we are analyzing, okay, we're thinking about a certain service and we really want to drill down in terms of what's the utilization, what's the impact if removed. And I just wanted to make sure that for the record, not that everything isn't important, but that the assigning the domain weights, I think, can be a really challenging process, which could also affect the entire analysis. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that, and you can tell us a little bit about how those weights do impact the process.
Yeah, which is one of the most critical parts, as you had also alluded to earlier. So we just looked at it from different standpoints, and we would still want your input, but we just
Right, yeah.
weighed it from, okay, utilization. These are very important touch points for this. And that was the first thing I discussed earlier under the KPI definition and register. So if we want to, looking at utilization is as important as accessibility. If we have very few people utilizing it and it is not as accessible to people that also need it. So that's why you would have like it's a 5% difference from the assigned weights that we had put in for utilization and accessibility, if you look at it from where we had designed the weights from. And also, there are also still some other measurements on the side, which is the scoring guide. The scoring guide will still also help determine what you will do at the end of the day if you score it based off, however you decide to score it based off the utilization. If you think utilization was at 4, then you might maintain it. If it's at, like, there are just different weights that we had put on it, like it's not cost efficient. That means low utilization, low, like once you sum everything together, that's like what we are saying, the weighted score interpretation altogether. But we just sat down and looked at the impact of transportation. You need it to be equitable. You need it to be accessible. You need people to be able to utilize it. And what will be the impact if removed? So that those were just the ways that we sat down together. We designed it. However, most of the time from those that are utilizing these things, you might be able to get more feedback and we can come back to the drawing board to assign weights to it. But generally based off what transportation is to everybody globally, these are some things that we see as like global standard. Like when you're getting a bus, you have to ensure that it is accessible, that everybody can utilize it. It is cost efficient. The service quality of a bus is not as important as the utilization at the end of the day. Does it get you from point A to point B is way more important than does it have AC? Does it have, like, there are other buckets of things that's still there, but it's not as important as the other part of it. Then sustainability is also important. So those are just like the different metrics that we sat down and we said, okay, this looks like a general consensus that we can apply across board here. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any questions?
So the transportation study, will they have access to this and use this? Because this is really a good data.
We definitely will provide this to the selected consultant because it gives a really good background of where we're at and some of the priorities of the system and the community. So it's something they can build on as they analyze different types of systems in comparison of how that system would work versus this model and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous work. It should be
Utilized, yeah, it's great. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I just want to thank you both for the work that you've done for us, and hopefully you've gotten some credit for that. And in your program, you've done a great job, and I think it gives us a template, although, you know, in the future, we may, shall I say, streamline it a little bit, but we have great ideas and a great way to approach this kind of analysis from all your work with us. So we really appreciate that. And let us know if you need, I don't know if we can write you letters of recommendation or whatever, let us know what we can do to support you both, okay? All right, you're welcome to stay on if you'd like, or whatever you'd like to do. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we're gonna go to our final action item here, and that is just a review of this draft report that I've prepared in terms of our report and final recommendations. And we have some Alan had sent me some suggestions. We heard some suggestions from our resident here. So first of all, I will update this in terms of the most current information that Kelsey has and any other information that we were still working on before I put this thing together. But now's the time to, or you could, if you want to send me edits, I guess you could send me edits offline. But what I tried to do here was just give a summary of what we've done and also try to highlight our deliverables, if you will, because I think talking about what we actually have done is the great opportunity to, maybe the headline there is look at what we found out that we're doing well in these surveys that we did. I think it's important to call that out, yet also we want to make recommendations for the future. And I think we've had a wide-ranging conversation about KPIs and their effectiveness and how do we use them and what are they? And I found it difficult to, other than just kind of summarize that, I found it challenging to try to convey the vagaries of our conversations. But needless to say, if someone feels like there should be more specific information about the topics we've covered, I'd be glad to have any feedback on that. I was hoping to create something that people could easily understand and wouldn't be too wordy.
No, you did a good job, Susan.
Yeah.
I would make a suggestion in the third paragraph. Task force was focused specifically on RWC community services. Mary England was commenting about RPM.
Yeah.
And we deliberately chose
Right.
at this point to not do that.
Right.
And I think it might be worth calling out that was actually a decision.
And it was a decision, it was a decision, not to quibble in any way, but when we were, our charter was to focus on community services.
Right.
So it's not even that we decided, that was our charter.
Yeah.
And so I can make that more
I think
specific.
that making that clear that
That
because a
it's
lot of
just
people
on this one.
are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
concerned about RPMs.
Right,
Delivery and that's where it stands.
right.
And it's not that the board is interested in that, it's just simply that we decided to do this first so that we got a handle on it and then.
Well, and it's
In our
interesting.
limited
starts to
time.
apply.
And it's interesting in terms of how this might be moved forward, and I think it possibly could be a topic at the board retreat about how we move on with this work. Because I do think, and as was mentioned by Ms. England in her comments, I've had verbal discussions with the folks on the management agreement task force. And I think they're really trying to figure out what they're doing or how that's going to work out this year. But I think they are very aware of this work we've done on KPIs. And I think, and when you think about KPIs, not that community services and the effectiveness and efficiency cannot be measured, but I think in terms of the services provided by RPM, either to RWC or the mutuals, that's an area where we could identify some measurable, explicit, clean goals. So, and I have that here in the recommendations too.
My only question is, as I've said multiple times, the first set of information that Kelsey prepared with the whole kind of overview of this, it's so good and it's so important. I just wonder if we could, it can continue to have life. Because there's so many people that just don't know the facts about that. I've had people say, well, doesn't the golf course cover itself? No, it doesn't. I'd like to save on coupon costs. What do you want to cut? We could save $100 a month if you cut the gym, the swimming, the recreation, it's just. Yeah, exactly. I just really think, I just am asking the question if there's a way to keep that information alive. Maybe put it on the rossmore.com, the part where we have our blurb about, the video of the place, so people really get the facts. Here's what you get. Here's what you pay. For only $300 a month, you get pools, gyms, very safe thing, beautiful location, recreation programs. I don't think it's really understood by a lot of people, what this costs.
Some of that in the marketing website that's coming out a little bit or we do try and do that at least annually in terms of comparison to the outside. So trying to highlight the value, that is always a challenge. But the more prominent, I agree, we can make it, the better.
Yeah.
In terms of.
So should we go through these recommendations?
Yeah, no, sure, yeah, go ahead. If you want to make changes, we should do it now. Probably do it now, because I know Deborah's gonna need it for that board meeting. Or you can send them to me. Yeah, you could send them to me if you want. Is that okay? I mean, if you want to make wording changes. I'm happy to take editorial changes, or are we missing something? And I'm trying to figure out how to capture what Nancy is saying and try to get it in here as a recommendation.
Well, the first, so in-depth review of coupon costs related to community services, club metrics, and designated use amenities. It would belong there, if anywhere, that the recommendation is to ensure that that information is widely distributed and
Maybe we update
incorporated.
that information on an annual basis or something
And
like that.
distributed and understood. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So people really know you're getting
What we're
so
gonna do
much
with
for
this,
$300 a month. Safety, and it only costs, if you just, and when I did the schedule that I first started off, I really prefer to see that on an annual basis, because when you say $15 a month, to me, it's easier when you say, what is 15 times 12? 3 times 6, 180. For $180 a year, you have this beautiful gym. For $200, you have 3 heated pools and, so, and the security.
4 heated pools.
Wait.
2 in Ties.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. 3 locations. But yeah, that's just
Yeah.
my way of looking at it, that get that out there, so there's not so much complaining about the coupon, but understanding about the tremendous value that you get for the coupon. And also just the scope of things too, so people that, it's like, we want the coupon to go down. Oh, really? How are we gonna do that? Through use of AI or, things like that.
Here's a question. I know sometimes at the board, we have these deep dives into various units or services, which is, that's a very useful thing. But I'm looking at what Kelsey did. It's 71772, Department Metrics PowerPoint. So you pulled that together, Kelsey, and it was great. And, it has and this was just for community services. That's just community services, not everything. But is there any place really where we share this information, the cost per manner, staff per month, I guess, staff, and then the budget, and then also what you do, and you also added those metrics. Now, I don't know if people are interested in that. Would that be something that would be worth sharing? And I don't know that it's shared
Well, it's in the
anywhere
budget.
necessarily.
It's on this, it's
Yeah.
simply,
It's in the budget book?
Yeah, it's like
Kind
tab
of.
2, first page.
In
Oh,
a
okay.
spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But we never show the FTE.
And who reads it? And who reads
I love that schedule.
You're on the finance committee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you have to know where to look for it. And you need to dig into the budget, et cetera. It's not something that people know about, that's for
Yeah.
A
sure.
lot of this stuff, we do have a kind of a rotation of putting these articles out in the Rossmore News. And it, it hits a few people and, but we have constant, kind of turnover too.
So I mean, I think that we have an opportunity now with the new Rossmore to really put together a comprehensive view of here's how Rossmore operates. And the numbers are there, you don't have to search anywhere, the numbers are there, they're interpreted for you, in graphical form, I mean, big corporations do that all the time, where you can go and you can see how Microsoft is doing, where they're spending the money and so on. And, we should be, not that we're Microsoft, we're much better than that. That we should be able to do something like
Yeah.
that. And it doesn't need to be terribly complicated.
No. So I think we should amend bullet point number 1 to incorporate what we just said about incorporate.
Sharing
Yeah, sharing that, using,
on my Rossmore or.
Well, what I might do is take the essence of the bullet point 1 and add it to the recommendations. That we want to make sure that we continue to share this information, hopefully considering
yeah.
new, so I've divided up into what we've done and what we're recommending for the future. So just to do that, I understand we want to highlight number 1 and also try to continue sharing that information.
Yes.
Hopefully in an easy to use format on myrossmore.com or something
Yeah, in
like
order to
that.
increase understanding
Yeah.
of residents about the services and amenities and the costs and benefits of services and amenities, something like that.
All right.
Can we talk about the recommendation to continue the work of the task force going forward?
Oh, yeah.
Who, what, when, where, how, why, all those.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, I would really appreciate any consideration from Jeff or Kelsey on this. I mean, a task force is a task force. It's there for a specific period of time. Now, we could consider having it for another year, an extended period of time. I think it's a little bit challenging to figure out where you would fold this into a policy committee. Remember, we talked a little bit about that last time. Is
Or
it
planning.
finance? Is it planning? Is it planning? Is it policy? Because there's elements
Yeah.
of what we've dealt with here that were represented in all those committees.
I mean, in a way, when an initiative is presented to planning and or finance, it should contain KPIs.
Yeah.
It should say, okay, we're gonna do X, and here's how we'll know whether we succeeded. But that planning and finance, typically they're one-offs, though. It's not, as I think about it, it's not about, okay, the process of going forward. So maybe it's really at the budget point that we should be looking at a set of KPIs for all the various different departments. How do we know we're doing a good job? I don't know if that's feasible for this year or not.
Well, yeah, I love that idea. I went back and I looked at the charter of the finance committee. And it's very limited in its charter, and I actually think it probably should be revised and expanded or something like that. But that's neither here nor there, because it really specifically only says their job is to review budgets and recommend or something
Make
like
sure
that.
there's enough money to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, that it's
Piggyback.
almost nothing, but that if we were to say, this is the domain of finance, to review KPIs, to have additional data that, rather than just, income statements, many, many lines in it. That's a whole different thing. That's a staffing issue, right? We just sort of expanded our analytical capabilities, but I don't know if we really have the resources to do that and be weighing on Kelsey. So a part of me says, yes, I would love that. I think the finance committee charter should be revised and expanded a little bit. But I don't know if we have the resources, and we did a lot here. We got her initial report out. We got the facts behind, we had the reservation system meltdown, and those days are over. Here's some statistics and facts, and transportation, that was tremendous information. We got the consultants coming in. I don't know how much more there is to.
What just occurred to me, because it seems in a way just overwhelming or massive to say every service unit has to come up with one KPI a year, which I would, in the budget, which I'd love to say. But what if we, if this is reasonable that or not, we know over the next 6 months, year, whatever, we're going to be looking at transportation and hopefully modifying it, revise, whatever we're gonna do with transportation. And we already have all this KPI information, which we may not use all of them, but, and it's been very valuable, but what if we recommended that as a first step, whatever, however we determine to move forward with transportation, that KPIs are embedded somehow in that process? Because then you got something, you're starting out, you can say, okay, we want to measure these 3 things, and that would be at least some of our work coming into fruition. Yes, a specific
Yeah, that
thing.
sounds good.
I like that idea a
Something
lot.
specific. It's a good plan.
Yeah, and that, this goes to the point I made previously about building a service culture.
Yeah.
You have your goals, each department has their goals, it's explicitly, so here's what we're trying to do, and here's how we're gonna measure it, and that really has to be owned by the department.
Yeah, we can't own that. We can't own that.
And it's a
Yeah.
cultural shift, and I think that if it was incorporated into the budget process, manager number 1 gets up and does their presentation. They're all fabulous and on fire about their jobs. They say, here's what we're measuring, here's how we measure our effectiveness. Not just do we meet the budget, which is very important, but ask the team. But it's like, that's not a task force doing that. That's
Right, that's
implementing
the
a
group,
change
yeah.
across the organization from Jeff on down. I think we should make a recommendation. That's a good one, whether they have 1, 2, or 3,
Yeah.
like Kelsey's group came up with, here's what we think we're doing, and each group can do that.
It may not
I
be
like
that,
that.
may not be that difficult for, because our managers are fairly, they're up on their jobs, and I don't see anybody who's,
Work on their jobs and their numbers.
and so, for them to, I don't think it'd be a big reach for them to say, here's how I think, if I'm doing a good job, this is because I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Okay, fine, say that and then put some numbers behind it. And then, it'll get refined over the next 3 years. It's not gonna be perfect the first year. we do
So
it.
what are you suggesting?
Well, I think, following on what Nancy just said, that at the budget presentation, if each manager were to say, in addition to, I want to spend X, number of dollars, and to say what I expect to get for that X number of dollars, what they expect to see.
Or maybe just
Sure.
1 page before the financial page,
Yeah.
each manager puts that in there and speaks to that.
And,
Well, remember, we collect, I hear what you're saying. We collect a lot of information on what we are providing based on the budget, X number of rides, X number of swim, whatever, yeah. So to me, though, the KPI is, or could be, the cost efficiency, the operational efficiency, the quality. And if we were to suggest that, say, every department manager came up with 1 KPI, which I've had in the back of my head, but I don't know if it's I don't know if it's feasible. And I would ask how Jeff feels about that, what Jeff thinks about that. I understand what you're saying. I think it's not unreasonable, but I mean, the transportation thing is very specific.
Yeah, put that aside.
Yeah.
For now. But-
So, and I think
if
that's,
You're talking about, let's think of another department, you know.
well, then, I don't know, is it
I think
reasonable?
what I'd like to do is.
What would you
go
like to
back
do? Yeah.
To the
To your
management
managers,
team.
okay.
Yeah, and kind of just talk about process and talk about how it would look for each department in terms of putting more statistical data to what it is we'll deliver based on the resources being allocated, what the benefit is and how we're measuring that. I think there's a path that we could do that. And it's going to evolve, as you mentioned, because we are just infancy of installing a lot of these systems. But let me talk to the team a little bit more about the overall.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I think we can
And you
define a
know,
little bit better.
That's good because I mean, they may have their own, you as a team may come up with, hey, this is what we feel like we can do, or this is a good way to do it. Because I just realized, Deborah, that you put out that survey, or the administration thing, you put that out, what, like quarterly or twice a year or something?
Yeah, twice a year,
Yeah.
midpoint and end of year. I don't think,
What kind of
I don't
survey?
get any statistics in regards to numbers, but I'm sure
About
there's a
feedback
way.
about her departments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who gets it, I know I get it,
So the board and the committees.
the board and the committees get it. Yeah, so you've been doing that already and we didn't even recognize that, so you just decided to do that yourself?
Yes.
Good, okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna try to, I appreciate, Jeff, your willingness to go back and brainstorm with your management team in terms of how you might be able to address these.
But if we don't exist anymore, he brings that to the board.
I think it as you, I don't forget who, but it has a little bit of ownership everywhere.
Yeah.
There is some to policy, there is some to finance. I think planning would have some, especially as we go through transit and we're talking about what kind of format model we're interested in, they would have a piece. So it doesn't have one singular home, but really it goes, and then for the board and finance, when we're doing the presentation on the budget, it lost both. Ultimately, the board has.
It would be on everybody's agenda.
I think so.
So maybe we
Bullet
don't
point.
need a task force for,
What if you left the option to kind of like the marketing task force did to, if there is a point maybe before budget presentations, we want to come back, review, brainstorm.
not meet
So
every month.
maybe it's not a standing, but it's, you use the same constitution of members, and if we have a need, Susan can pull the group back together.
Yeah, maybe before budget time, then you'll have a chance to reconnoiter with your staff and.
Yeah, something like that.
That sounds good.
All right,
You
okay.
good with that?
Oh, I'm okay, well, yeah, no, that's good. That's good, and I think we'll continue to have good discussions, and when we present this to the board as well, we may have some discussions there too that would help us determine how we want to move forward.
Now, another recommendation that maybe could be put on here is that the transportation study include KPI.
Right, yeah.
I think that came out of what we were discussing, but I don't see it.
No, it's new, but I'm gonna make sure it's on there.
And you'll take whatever, incorporate Mary England's comments as appropriate into this.
Yeah, well, yes. I
It
don't know
says
that I do it
consider
verbatim, but I
use
understand
of
what she's saying.
KPIs and RPM
Yeah.
service
It's in her
provision.
email that I.
No, I know, I have, she sent it, yeah, no, I have it. I just am not, I'll add that wording as I think fits in with the general message that we're providing.
And also just change the word alternations to alterations.
Oh, alterations, okay, yeah, did I not check this thing. All right. Okay, well then, I think we are ready to adjourn here at 2:10, which is awesome. And I want to thank everybody for we've been a great working team. I just really appreciate everything everybody's done. And I just do again want to thank our, our
I think they're going.
our fellows are
Taking an exam or
they're
something.
taking an exam, or something like that, but they've been great, but also Kelsey, you've been great, you have a lot going on. And
Thanks,
you've just kept
Kelsey.
on it and been very helpful, so we appreciate that very much.
Lucky to have you at Rossmore.
So thanks, everybody, we're adjourning at 2:11. Okay.